Hi, I'm Tim Wilde, and I'm going to give you my wild thoughts on Dexter, New Blood, episode 5 on Showtime. I'm just keep it really short, because I don't have a lot to say, except for I understand that a lot of people are upset about this episode. I'm not going to say I understand why they're upset about this episode, because I think the main complaint that I can see that was blaring, obvious, was Batista's cameo. Now, I gotta say, when they first showed him, I mean, the sheriff goes in with the one girl and she checks in the hotel or whatever. They talk to the hotel people, then they end up at this convention and they walk in front of a poster that says law enforcement convention. I'm like, oh, that's where it is. And then they go in and they go into the room, or they go past the room or whatever, and they just suddenly say, oh, now from Miami Metro, here's Angel Batista. And then he stands up and he like says hi or whatever, and he cuts. And then you hear them talking in the background while he's like beginning his lecture. You can't hear what he's saying. And I thought that was all it was going to be, was just him having a presence, which is a cameo. But then they came back around where he started talking about the Trinity killing. Now, my only problem with this isn't that he was there and they made a really lame excuse for him to be coming all the way from Miami all the way up to New York. Now, who's to say he's still living there? Well, I guess he made the line that the weather's a lot colder than what he's used to, so he's probably still down in Miami Metro. And she said that when she introduced him. But anyway, my problem wasn't like the setting that they made him appear. For me, it was more of an issue that there was no setup. All they had to do was have a line earlier in the episode with the sheriff, whatever, or having some conversation, or maybe having a conversation with the podcast lady, that she was like, hey, there happens to be a seminar or whatever that's going on with someone that deals with these serial killings. That Miami Metro has a huge reputation in the law enforcement in the Dexter universe for these serial killing captures and cases, and some that they found and some they didn't. But the podcaster she's done her episodes and her in her podcast on probably almost all of whatever Miami Metro has ever been through with the Dexter stories. So a line between the two of them earlier in the episode, or just an acknowledgement, or even if she stopped and saw the bill where it said Angel Batista, say, oh my gosh, do you know who this is, Sheriff? And the sheriff lady says, no, who? And then she says, hey, this is these from Miami Metro. They had like the biggest cases of serial killings in the nation or whatever. That just a little bit of conversation instead of just her, or just cutting to Batista being introduced and standing up out of nowhere, would have worked a lot better. It just would have been that, and that would have triggered the sheriff's brain being like, "Oh, interesting," because I have these gut feelings and I have this little pattern that I'm trying to work out too, which is why she's out there anyway. It just would have been like a better coincidence if either of them responded to it, like the sheriff responded to like, this could be interesting or maybe this could help, or the podcaster saying, "Oh my gosh," or recognizing the name, because she would have. Anyway. That's all. I mean, it's fine. And I liked the conversation they had in the lounge later on over drinks. All the conversations, except for the part where he was like, oh, Deb died and it was a sad thing. And then her brother and a kid. Oh, what was the kid's name? And then he's like, nah. I thought that would have been fine if they left it there. But he had to turn around and say, oh, it was Harrison. Oh, cute kid. Okay, that was pretty ham-fisted. Hand-fisted? Ham-fisted. Whatever, it wasn't subtle at all is the point. And that gets her thinking, because he like died, that Harrison's father died, that she's thinking maybe this is the same Harrison. Harrison's a pretty common name, so I didn't like that. It was just dumb. They could have just written around this whole setup with Batista a lot better is all. I don't mind how it happened or that it happened. I just don't like how they kind of it felt like a throw-in or a shoe-in, just because they didn't want, or because there was no writing to any style to get it in there. Anyway, what do I know? Just that it sucked. And a lot of people apparently are unhappy about it. I'll tell you this though, I definitely don't want to start seeing cameos from everybody. I don't want to see Quinn or Batista, or we got Batista, or Vincent, or although I thought of Vince as soon as they introduced, because he said that was the name of his black sheep at home. Harrison did that, and Dexter was like, "Well, it's Vincent too," or whatever. I wasn't it the sheep? I thought, or the goat? I thought it was. Anyway, there was a little reference to someone named Vincent. I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, the rest of this episode I thought was cool. The one guy shooting the girl's eye out and like him being freaked out about that reminded me of when things kind of weren't going right with the Trinity Killer and some others, but mostly the Trinity Killer. Also, the religious one with Colin Hanks, that villain, when things weren't executed, they weren't doing things correct, he wasn't confessing his sins, that's what it was. All that stuff had to play into the psyche of the serial killer, where you haven't got anywhere into what is the mentality or the motivation of this guy, but we're 5 episodes in now, and we only have 5 left. They're kind of playing pretty slow on getting Dexter connected to this whole thing. So, but it's a small town. It's not like he needs to do a lot of this investigation and this stalking and everything to find the patterns of the guy and verify if he's killing him and everything like they did in the original series. So, I don't know. They could wrap it up quickly, but it just feels like there's a couple of episodes for every guy that Dexter is approaching in this series. I liked him. I'll just say this: the scene where Deb was like, "This isn't about justice. This isn't about your needs to kill or whatever. This is just vengeance." And Dexter's like, "Yeah." He gets out of the car. That was awesome. And when he goes in and he charges out there and he has to go find a reason to, or he has to find the tranquilizers. He goes to the vet lady or whatever. And then he goes in and she's like, he gets the baggage and the syringes and everything, and he's like gearing up, and you're like, oh, here we go. Dexter's like back in the zone, and it was pretty cool. Just as exciting as the first episode when he like pulled the tarps and everything, was making his little makeshift kill room. So that was kind of cool. I liked it. I didn't hate this episode. I liked it. If this episode, I think more than any of the others, except for the Harrison getting drugged up, that was just kind of weird, but everything else with Dexter in this episode felt more like the way they did Dexter stories in the original series, like him stalking at the bar, him getting the kill room, he was getting frustrated when things weren't working out. When the cop shows up and foils his plan, whenever Dexter's kills get compromised, that's always when it's exciting. The only other thing I'm going to say is I'm seriously annoyed by all the CGI in this. You don't have... When Harrison is drugged and he goes and he like starts cutting on the girl, and it's like clearly CGI blood because her legs gets all fuzzy, but the blood stays kind of in focus a little bit and it kind of lingers. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's because my TV is really high definition, but like really high definition. But it was blatant. It was just glaring at me, and I was just so frustrated because like they went through so much work in the original series to put the little tubes and the pumping of the fake blood behind whatever weapon Dexter was wielding, and like they were always so careful and really artsy about how they did that. This or whatever, just CGI, because that's how lazy we are in making movies today. We're doing shows, whatever. Anyway, other than that, I'm just saying that the animal CGI and they're showing a lot of screens in this, the CGI with the screens, but that's all post-production stuff, that's normal. But like, you can't do a little drop of blood. Whatever. Anyway, okay, that's all. I like the episode. I don't understand why everyone's overly upset, if they are, but I'm still excited to see where it goes. I'm just gonna say it right now again. If they end up killing Harrison, I'll be like, unless he's like really going off the deep end, that really sucks for everything that they set up in like seasons 5 and so on after Rita. If Dexter dies for any reason, that's going to be really disappointing and stupid, because that just means this little arc, which is not set up very well, is just going to end in a complete failure, which is dumb. It's like this is a little epilogue to the failure he already had in the end of his original show. And if they just kind of team up and move on, then that's probably the most satisfying ending, I think, for everyone. Or Harrison can start learning to control his beasts like Julia Stiles did, Lumen, how at the end of it she kind of got control after they killed all the people that hurt her. At the end she was like, I'm free, I can move on. And Dexter like was really envious. If at the end of this Harrison can get into a healthy stance psychologically then that'd be best. That would be awesome. That'd be a great thing. That would make all the things about Dexter and his relationship with his son cool, and Dexter now learning more to control the monster, kind of like the Incredible Hulk sort of thing. But now we have the sheriff uncovering Dexter's lie. I don't know. That's gonna be dumb. If he has to leave town again at the end, fine. But it's just a unfortunate thing, because then they have to like relaunch a series in a new city. The reason this is working because he's established in this little town. So anyway, okay. Sorry, this was longer than I expected it to be. But those are my wild thoughts on Dexter New Blood, episode 5. I liked it. Everyone calm down. It's good. Dexter is still Dexter. That's the strongest thing this show has going for it. It still feels like Dexter. Even though everything else in the show feels different, the Dexter side of it is still there. And that's what matters most.